Financial savant Jeff Fuller. Jeff, the idea that Kansas could go to the SEC is one that has popped around a lot over the last week. Greg Pflugar was the original one to bring it up. He didn't say it's going to happen, but he said it could be on the table. Those conversations could be happening. Don't be shocked. And Greg's been right about a lot of things. Are we entering an era where if it's consolidation, not expansion, if the Big Ten and the SEC want to completely take over, they begin to poach Big 12 schools? Have we reached that spot yet?
Yeah, and that's, I guess, the fear of possibly Brett Yormark and the Big 12 as a whole. Do a few programs become so successful that they're too good for the Big 12 and get poached by the Super 2? Well, we'll see. I think there are certain institutions that aren't as attractive, whether it's geographically or based on the nature of who they are, being potentially religious institutions or not major research or flagship universities that maybe are a little less attractive. So maybe it is a good idea for a Kansas State or a Baylor or a BYU who aren't the model of the school that these academic types that make the decisions on who gets added. Maybe these are the teams we want to rise to the top within the Big 12 because they're less likely to get poached. But yeah, I mean, if Kansas, with their incredible basketball brand, if they start winning, making a run in the playoff for a couple of years, if they just build up that fan base, even more and build up the revenue and the credibility to going far in the playoff, that really puts them at risk. And any of the new Four Corner ads, if they just start tearing it up in football and become a national power, they've got that research profile, the flagship universities, the big enrollments, and some of the tradition that they're geographically challenged for both conferences to some degree, but less so for the Big Ten with their bridge into the West Coast. But it'll be interesting to see. I'm a fan of Kansas State. I think they have the hardest time. I think they have one of the lower upsides in the Big 12 just because they are a little brother within a relatively small state, population-wise.
Well, you're really firing up those listeners right now. I mean, they are entering the comment section as we speak.
I know. I'm probably offending people right and left.
That's good.
I made Houston mad. And I came out with some fan base ranking on Avid fans earlier today, and Houston fans went ballistic because they were at the bottom of those. And it's the nature of the beast. I try to throw out the data and just speak objectively, and I know some teams get their feelings hurt. Fans get to him, but that's part of being a fan, right?
Law of averages.
You're here to bring it. It's here to support your tribe and cheer your team on, and nobody better besmirch them.
Jeff, when it comes to your research, who looks the most appealing right now in the Big 12? I know you do, again, a lot of revenue research. Who is the most appealing if they're going to try to make a move up?
Sure. I mean, Kansas comes to mind just with the basketball brand, the geography that would fit both conferences. They're a flagship university with a medical school, they're AAU. So they check a lot of the boxes that, people talk about in realignment. Texas Tech, sleeping giant, possibly. They've got a strong fan base. They actually came out tops in my Avid fan calculations for the Big 12. BYU came in second, Kansas came in third, and this is all sports, college sports, Avid fans. So counting basketball, potentially counting, the other smaller sports, if those can add fans. So I think Texas Tech, if they're another one that has failed to break through, maybe instead of Clemsoning things, it'll be Texas Teching things that they've sort of risen up to a point, but have never really broken through to the upper echelon. If they do that, they're positioned well to potentially make a move elsewhere. But we hope we'll all stick together and have a joyous time in the Big 12.
Does there come a point where even in the Big Ten, but specifically the Big 12, there is dead weight you cut off? Are there schools where at some point it's no longer financially responsible to still have them in your conference? Will we see that sort of consolidation at any point?
I mean, there's not a wonderful history of it. I think wasn't Temple kicked out of a conference way back when? It's very rare. It's very rare. People usually like leave and form a new conference, or it's not like, oh, we're going to kick out one or two members because they're not winning enough on the football field. If that were the case, Vanderbilt would have been out of the SEC years ago, and
100%.
same with Northwestern and Purdue, Rutgers. Why were they even added? They weren't good. They were added. So yeah, you have to have some teams that lose games. That's going to be interesting going forward with these Super 2 conferences. You're getting all the brands in that are the blue bloods that are used to being at the top. You can't have all those teams at the top of two conferences year in and year out. It's going to be harder to win a conference championship when you have USC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington in the Big Ten. Our teams that are used to winning those championships going to get a little restless and say, this isn't what I thought it'd be. We're losing four games a year when we're used to losing two, and we're missing the playoff, and this, and we're traveling all over the country, and it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out when the rubber hits the road, because I think there's a lot of people that say, hey, we're in this awesome club, but I'm not sure it's going to play out like they're thinking and hoping it will.
Jeff, I'll leave you with this. What is the best case scenario for the Big 12 in the next 5 years? And is it certainly moving east with assorted ACC members?
Sure. I mean, best case scenario, BYU wins, 5 national championships, but the Super 2 still don't want us because we're a weird religious institution. So the Big 12, hey, we could have a national juggernaut in BYU. Best case scenario. I mean, you hate to be the vultures waiting to pick over the carcass, but if you have the ACC, if North Carolina decides to team up with Clemson and Florida State, and they are off to greener pastures, there are some good brands to pick up. Louisville comes to mind. NC State, if they don't join along. Someone created, a guy named Wild Ute, who's a good friend on YouTube. He created this term called the Wolf Pack Backpack, where they're, they might get taken along with UNC wherever they go by law. So they may luck into it. But yeah, I mean, there's some potentially great brands to pick up. I don't really see the Dukes and the Virginias, sort of the academic elites, wanting to, join on with the unwashed masses academically of the Big 12 relatively. But I mean, potentially NC State, Pitt, Virginia Tech, and Louisville. Those are some that make a lot of sense and bring back some rivalries, and should be interesting. And I'd love to have those teams in, strengthen the Big 12, and a little bit of insurance policy if some of the other brands get picked off.
Jeff, if folks want to find more of the research that you have done, where can they go?
Yeah, so pretty much my Twitter, JJFuller72. Also, I do a little writing for ESPN 960. I was on Ben Criddle's show today talking. I go on there every couple of weeks and just talk about some of the stuff I've been researching. And one of the recent things I've talked about is looking at ticket sales data, and Kansas leads the Big 12 in public data. BYU actually, they've released some of their donor reports, and BYU probably is earning the most money from ticket sales of anyone in the Big 12 right now, including the Four Corner schools that are coming in. Colorado may challenge that with Dion there, but we'll see. But yeah, look me up on that website or on Twitter, and we'll keep it rolling.
That is Jeff Fuller, the financial savant of Locked On Big 12. There's so many monikers we've come up with already today.
I'm going to put that in my Twitter profile.
That's good. That's Jeff. Go follow, again, JJFuller72 on Twitter for more of the best Big 12 specific. I'm going to call it Big 12 specific because many of them are financial reports. This has been and it always will be. Come back tomorrow as we continue to talk, not just expansion, but transfer portal that is kicked up in football and killed a couple of programs that aren't in our conference. This has been, it always will be, Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Dose Grande. All right, we're out. Huge.